Here's a little video on how I'm going to begin this drawing, and will often begin most, if not all, drawings. I'm going to use this kite for my example. I have my drawing board set up, so I have my paper sitting at an angle. It's not flat. Several ways you can do this, but I'm going to do it this way for now, partly because I want to have my reference photo that I'm drawing from really close to where I'm actually drawing. And a couple things. To stick up that reference photo, you could use tape. The other thing I often use is a small chunk of the kneaded eraser that I have. It's basically acts like that poster putty stuff. So let's see. It's kneaded eraser, handy in so many different ways. Anyways, I'll do that for now. But to begin with, I'm going to start thinking about, sounds obvious, but what I'm drawing. And for drawing this example, I just want to do a simple line drawing, basically, of the kite. I'm not going to worry about the string or the tail. Probably not even going to worry about the different stripes. I may do that later, which would be fun, I must confess. But first thing, I'm just going to sort of start thinking about this kite, the big picture. And to do that, I want to start becoming familiar with several things. And to help me do that, I'm going to use this tool that's in my hand already. And I'm going to start scanning this object that I'm trying to draw. And I'm going to scan it with my pencil vertical. And this would sort of represent what's known as a plumb line, sort of straight up and down, representing straight up and down. I'm also going to scan it horizontally. This is, I would consider, more of a level. Some people still call this sort of a plumb line, but side to side plumb line, which doesn't make sense to me. But I'm just one artist. So anyways, I'm scanning like this and like this to really start getting a sense of what is up and what is down and what is right and what is left. And one of the many reasons I'm doing that is to determine what an imaginary bounding box or notional space would be for this particular object. And to do that, I want to identify whatever the top point of this object is that I'm drawing, and as well as I want to determine what is the most right. You may not be able to see that graphite very well, but I can tell this is the furthest right point of this object that I'm drawing. I can tell that this is the bottom point, and I can tell that this is the furthest left. So I have these points sort of identified, and I want to sort of sketch in this vertical line going through that point. And I'm going to sort of just create a, like I said, what's called a bounding box, or a boundary box. Notional space is the fancy artsy term for it. Forgive me, I'm drawing at a bit of an angle here, so even more challenged than usual, which is challenged enough. But I'm going to define I'm going to create this bounding box like this that involves just my horizontals going through the top and the bottom, and verticals going through the right and left. And then I'm going to start sort of scanning to see, to start learning about what are some obvious angles in this drawing. Some obvious angles would be sort of this angle of the kite coming this way. All these stripes are obviously angles. This part over here, I would think about that angle. This part right here, I would think about that angle, that angle, that angle, and this angle. And the reason I'm doing that is to keep getting a better sense of what this object is going to be like to draw. And what this bounding box helps me do is really get a sense of what that angle is when I compare it to straight up and down. This I get a very good sense of what it is because I'm comparing it to exactly what's horizontal. This, in a similar way, I get a good sense. I get a good sense that way as well, that way, and that way. So this is all just the sort of the gathering information part. I'm what I'm calling sighting, and I'm not really measuring, but I'm just sort of gathering information and using my eyeballs to learn about this thing. One of the other main angles that I want to know is what would the angle be of that bounding box from a diagonal point to one point to one point. Those are awfully handy to know as well. That's the part where I'm just gathering information. Next, I'm going to do a little video on starting to really measure that information and transfer it over to my drawing. Back in a sec.